Exorcist III from 1990.
Oh, man.
Summary for this film: a police lieutenant uncovers more than he bargained for as his investigation of a series of murders, which have all the hallmarks of the deceased Gemini serial killer, leads him to question the patience of a psychiatric ward.
This one was my pick, and man, this was one of my favorites.
Yeah,
it's gonna be a high rating for me. And just so kind of a little bit more on the story. If you haven't seen 3, I imagine most people have seen 1. Pretty much what happens in this story is the cop from the first one is friends with a priest who is friends with the priest who fell out the window at the end of the first one, and they get together every year on like the anniversary of his death and watch A Wonderful Life. You find out through it that priest, although he died, played by our own Jason Miller. Even though
fucked me up when I saw that.
Even though he died, the demon in The Exorcist was very angry about getting kicked out of the little girl's body. So he put the Gemini killer, which is this killer that you don't know about, in that priest's body. And he kind of bounces around in old people's heads.
Why didn't you just read us the Legion book?
Well,
just read us the story.
I was about done. There it is. So you have the Gemini killer in the priest from the first one's body.
Also, sometimes Zool. Or no, what was it?
And
what was the one from the first one? Zozo? Or was it Captain Howdy? What the fuck was the demon?
Oh, Captain Howdy.
Yeah, was that what it was?
I believe so.
Because there was 3 different fucking people in this body.
Yeah, but what's the killer's name?
The Gemini killer.
The Gemini killer, yeah.
Is the killer in this one. But he was put in there by the demon that was cast out in the first one. It took him years to put enough brainwaves in the priest's body back together to make it function again.
No one's understanding you.
And now he is possessing old people in the crazy place that he is and using them to kill people the way the Gemini killer used to kill people.
What a mess.
And the cop is investigating.
This whole thing, this is why I think that only certain people are going to like this movie, because if that is the story, and then it's compounded with confusion by the fact that during production they had shot the whole movie with Brad Dourif,
who is fucking amazing.
He should have won an award for this.
He is fucking amazing.
He doesn't have an award.
That's the acting in this. It's George C. Scott. He's an acclaimed actor. But
he's good.
I fucking lose my shit.
He's great.
Every time he's like talking to him after the movie, and he's like, "Stand close. You smell that? Yes, you do. I haven't bathed in 3 days. My wife's mom is in from town." And he tells the fucking carp story.
Read us the book and act it out.
I will fucking
get it all from Jared.
But before we get into all the fun stories and shit that happened, I have to explain that the whole movie was shot with Brad Dourif first. And then, because Jason Miller, you weren't available, clearly.
At the time.
When they went to shoot. So when he became available, the studio's like, "Oh, you got to work him in somehow." And William Peter Blatty did not want to do this. He's like, "This is fucking stupid," but he had to abide by their fucking deal. So he decided to flash back and forth in the same character. What was the guy's name? Father Dyer?
Yeah, Father
Dyer. What was the other? What was Brad Dourif's character? Father Karras. Or Patient X, or the Gemini killer. That's why it gets so goddamn confusing.
Father Karras is the one that died in the first one.
But basically,
sometimes it's Jason
He's using
Miller.
His body.
Sometimes it's Brad Dourif.
It's always the same character, but all that shit Jared said's the story, so it's even more confusing.
Both are Father Karras. If you watch it...
sorry. I'm sorry to the viewers and listeners.
When you watch the movie, it's way less confusing.
This is all you need to do. Let all that shit go. None of that story matters. Fucking throw that out the window. Focus on George C. Scott. He is the best part of this. Honestly, if they would have not did the whole movie and just took George C. Scott and the dude who played Father Dyer and put them in a buddy flick.
Yeah, they were good together.
I want to watch that TV show or that fucking movie, whatever that is.
Yeah, and just a movie of Brad Dourif.
Oh, yeah.
Yelling about shit.
My favorite scene is the fish story. There's an extended story he tells about this. What is it? A goldfish?
A carp.
A carp going up and down, back and forth.
His mother-in-law likes to cook carp, but you gotta cook it. She's gotta clean it of impurities, so she leaves it in the bath water.
Yeah.
Now, I suppose you have all sorts of rosary biz and the like.
No. This is a goose. Maybe you should go home and rest.
I can't go home.
What?
The carp.
You know, I thought you'd see.
My wife's mother is visiting, Father. And Tuesday night she's cooking us a carp. It's a tasty fish. I have nothing against it. But because it's supposedly filled with impurities, she buys it live. And for 3 days it's been swimming up and down in my bathtub. Up and down. And I hate it. I can't stand the sight of it. Moving its gills. Now you're standing very close to me, Father. Have you noticed? Yes. I haven't had a bath for 3 days. I can't go home until the carp is asleep. Because if I see it swimming, I'll kill it.
That's what I remembered most from this, because I remember you were the first person that showed me this movie.
I love this movie.
And that is the one fucking thing I remember laughing so hard about.
And not overly violent.
No. It's more dialogue than anything else.
You don't.
It's crime detective horror.
Yeah, you don't really see anybody get killed.
No.
There wasn't even supposed to be everyone always talks about the studio interference. There wasn't even supposed to be an exorcism scene in this.
Yeah, and that's the only one you see get killed.
Yeah, that was a production thing that was thrown in there.
It was supposed to be titled Legion, but once the studio found out connected to The Exorcist, it's part of The Exorcist, they demanded it be called Exorcist III, and then
because the terrible Exorcist II had already been made.
I can't remember. What was it? Is
I've
it
never
called
seen
Heretic?
that. Yeah, I've never seen that one.
You're not missing.
If I have, I have.
It's
and this one completely ignored that one anyway.
Well,
this is
the
a direct
books-
sequel.
The books went from 1 to Legion. There is no. There was no in
what's
between.
the third one's name? Third book.
Is there a third one?
Well, there's another one. There's one after this.
There was one after Legion. I don't know. I've only read the first one. And
Maybe
Legion.
not. What?
There are 3 movies.
Maybe
and that I know
what I'm
of only
thinking
2
is between
books.
the 1 and 3.
There's an Exorcist II movie that was never William
it's a
Peter
book titled
Blatty's.
something else. There's 3 books to this.
Oh, yeah.
This trilogy.
Yeah, I didn't even know there was a third book to it. I've just read 1 and 2.
Yeah, if you can find the
do the
director,
Reading
I
Rainbow.
really want to watch the director's
Yeah,
cut of
I'll get William Peter Blatty
Yeah.
on here. I'll call him up.
What?
I'm
Do
sure
it.
he'll talk to me.
What's he doing? Is he alive?
I don't even know.
I think he is alive.
What's he doing?
Not talking to me. He's
No,
probably
no,
busy
I
not
think
talking
he was
to me.
involved
Call
in the
him
more
up.
recent Exorcist
But yeah, the
stuff.
second Exorcist movie followed Reagan. And there's no point to it.
Yeah.
But if you can find the director's cut of this, it doesn't have Jason Miller in it at all. It's all Brad Dourif.
I've never seen that.
And I don't think I've ever seen it either. Blatty managed to make a great film, even though the studio was in his back pocket, through this whole thing.
He may not have liked it, but I don't think any of the studio, like The Exorcism,
That was forced. It felt really forced to me.
it doesn't hurt the movie to me.
No,
No,
but I'll
like-
tell you what, George C. Scott
I'm
would
fine
have
with
fucking died when he fell from the ceiling.
You
I don't
you
care.
absolutely didn't need it, but it didn't feel forced.
Not only that,
And I do like cutting back and forth between Brad Dourif and Jason Miller. I actually like that.
not only is that scene, I'm okay with that scene. That scene gets better every time I watch this movie, but also the entire movie gets better. Every time I watch this movie, I like it better.
Yeah, you notice something new.
This has been one of my favorites for years.
How about the cameos, huh?
Yo, Patrick Ewing? Are we kidding?
Larry King? Larry King?
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
evidently Samuel L. Jackson.
What was in
but I
Georgetown?
didn't
That's
see
where he
him.
went to college.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I didn't see Samuel L. Jackson, but those dream sequences were fucking fantastic. This is a great movie. If they could carve about 15 or 20 minutes off of the conversation somewhere, I'm sure they could, because it's pretty long.
And how crazy the beginning of this show sounded.
Yeah.
Trying to explain the movie. The way they put everything together and all the pieces come
Seamless.
together.
You don't question. There's
writing
no
is
confusion.
perfect.
No confusion. And they never actually have to fully explain it.
Yeah, it's one of those movies that's almost impossible to explain to somebody without sounding like Jared did earlier.
And I'll keep doing it. I enjoy talking about the movie.
I've seen this fucking thing a lot of times, and his explanation, I got lost in it. I was like,
it's almost better not to even try to explain it. Just
watch it
read
and
a
enjoy
quick
it.
summary, or just go into it blindly.
I
would recommend seeing the first before watching this one.
Yeah.
Because
Gives you a little bit more on the
that's
characters.
going to tie everything else.
It makes George C. Scott. It makes you feel it more.
anyways, I gave this a 9 out of 10. It could have, and I might have, if I see the director's cut, might be a 10 out of 10.
What'd you give it, Jared?
I'm right with Frank. 9 out of 10. A 10 out of 10 if you got to see the kills.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
It's real close to 10. Acting's great. The
Did you give it a 9
atmosphere.
too?
I gave it a 9.
Wow.
The atmosphere
time?
is great. I was getting to that. Damn it, Frank.
I'm sorry. I was just astonished. That's the first time we all three
I really
hit the same score.
love. I love old hospitals. I love like the old churches and that feel that has all of this in it. A great story. Again, the story is much simpler than what we probably made it sound like. Just a great
If you're
score.
confused, I'll tell you again.
Has a great has a great score, and The Exorcist has one of the greatest theme songs of all time. Yes, Frank, I do give it a 9.
3 9.
3 9s. That's the first time we all three.
That's the last roundup horror show first.
That's the last round.
Can you put
It's definitely top rated movie.
Can you put like a trophy graphic or maybe some like confetti going boo 999 like slot machine ending on 9s? Boo 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 shoo.
That's the jackpot. That's the last roundup horror show jackpot.
That's the jackpot.
Let's go into where we at now.
Reading Rainbow of Death?
Yeah.